Cooper Clever 1972 here. Of course, you know my name is Brian by now, and I don't think I've done a video on films that I've recently seen for maybe at least a few weeks. I said in a previous video that I used to do them on a more consistent basis, you know, like every week, and you know, I've been listening to music. I've been playing with my guitars. I'm trying to get to a regimen of watching films online, you know, streaming wise, because I have to cancel my streaming services because of this pandemic, and I fired a few of them up again. I got rid of Mubi. I don't know if I'm going to get Mubi back when this is all over with. I don't think so. You know, it's $12 a month, and then you times that by 12, and I don't think it's a lot of money. And I think Criterion Channel is a better bang for your buck. But anyways, so then I have Netflix, and I did get rid of that in March. It was March, around the end of March, and I just recently resubscribed to it because I was just I didn't like the fact that I didn't have access to it, and I might get access to it another way. I'm not going to say how, but I might cancel this next month's subscription of Netflix. Maybe wait until this pandemic is over and then get back on board with Netflix. I'm not sure. Or maybe still subscribe to Netflix. I'm not sure on that. For this month, though, I'm covered for Netflix. I've paid my fee for the month. And then of course, there was Shudder, which I basically have for Joe Bob Briggs' Last Drive-In. And it was funny because the day it's ended, the next day, Joe Bob Briggs did an advertisement on Facebook for his new Last Drive-In show for the next season, and it was just too hard to give up. So I signed up for another month's. Well, first I signed up for a year's worth of Shudder, and I had to change to a month. Before that, the annual subscription fee was charged. You know, couldn't be before it could be not taken back. I had it changed to a monthly fee. So even though the monthly fee is more per year, I don't think I'm going to subscribe the whole year to Shudder. What I'm going to do is, once Joe Bob Briggs' Last Drive-In show is over with, and I've watched all of the shows, then I'll cancel the subscription until he comes on with season 3 or one of his, like a Halloween special or a Thanksgiving special or Christmas special, something like that. So, and then there's the only other one I only have subscribed to 4, and the other one is Criterion Channel, which I really love. I have a lot of Criterion discs, and I'm in like in this kind of limbo. I have Criterion Channel till June 8th. So it's paid up till June 8th. Now, $100 a year is is the annual fee for Criterion Channel subscription. At $10 a month is the subscription fee for Criterion Channel. So I don't know what I'm going to do at this point. I mean, logic really suggests that, you know, I have all these Criterions that I own that I should watch, and maybe just lay off Criterion Channel for a while. But with this, like, here comes the conundrum. Like, with the pandemic coming, I'm worried about them not surviving financially. You know, because like this art house theater near me, art house, the right word, independent movie theater, they basically have gone bankrupt, and they need somebody to buy their movie theater, and it's kind of sad, but you know, this is what's happening all around us. In any event, so you know, that's like why I'm worried about Criterion Channel. Like, if I stop subscribing, you know, being a loyal person that's bought a lot of their movies, and you know, whether, you know, I'd be contributing in a very small way towards their demise as a channel. I don't know. In any event, I have until June 8th, and I'm trying to force myself to watch huge chunks of it each day. I didn't really do that today. I played around with my guitar. I got up late. So maybe I'll watch some Criterion Channel after this video. I'm not sure. But so that's the status of where things hang right now. And so now let's get to the video. I've talked about this for almost 6 minutes now. Oh, and another thing. Just before I go on to films I've watched and my reviews of them, there's Alien 3 that the grumpy old gentleman on film reviewed in April. I think it was James' pick. And I said in my previous video, I don't know if it was I think it was my second to last video, maybe. I can't remember. Oh yeah, it was yeah, because I did another one. I don't remember what the topic was, but or maybe it was like 2 before, because it was a GarageBand video. Maybe it was like 3 videos back or 2 videos back. I don't know. In any event, I said in that particular video, it was films that I had watched recently. That's what the video was. And you know, when I when I do my videos, like if I forget to say something while I'm doing my video, when I'm editing, I put subtitles in, and I say, you know, like, say what I forgot. So I said I'd be doing a review of Alien 3. So that might have to wait a little while because of Criterion Channel and having it until June 8th. And maybe the Joe Bob Briggs show might get in the way a little bit. I'm not sure. I don't think they'll really get too much in the way, but Criterion Channel is just loaded with stuff, and I don't know what to do about it. So, but at some point, I'll try and put that Alien 3 review up there. I've got to watch the film again. I feel like I've got to be a completist. You know, like, even though I've watched everything on that quadrilogy box set, I've got to listen to the commentary again. I have to look at all the special features. I think I'm also gonna put Daisuke Beppu. I'm gonna put his name up here. I'll leave it up for about 30 seconds. And he's doing another stream this Saturday, which is 11 p.m. Tokyo time, 10 a.m. Eastern time. I believe that's that's the time he has scheduled, like he did this past Saturday. I momentarily looked at Daisuke's stream on Saturday. He's doing the I think they're called the Before trilogy by Richard Linklater, and I haven't really seen those, and I'm not really too keen on those really. So I just visited briefly the stream, but he's cutting the trilogy films up, so every other week he's doing the what are they called? The Before trilogy. So he's doing a James Bond film that's coming Saturday. if you go to his website, you can find out which one he's going to do. And I looked on one of his videos. I think it was a stream he did, a short stream. I didn't really watch the whole stream. I sort of skimmed through it, and I think he's doing On Her Majesty's Secret Service. So I might be watching that during this week. And again, I've watched all of my Bond box sets, and listened to all the commentaries and looked at all the special features. But with this stream coming up, I might have to prepare for that. So, but anyways, okay, so that's that. So, anyways, let's get to the films I've watched. They're both off of 2 streaming platforms. The first part will be about Shudder. It'll be about Joe Bob Briggs' new season of The Last Drive-In. And the second part will address the Criterion Channel movies. So, anyways, so, with these Shudder films, they're gonna I don't know if they're gonna be the most. They're not gonna be great works of art. Well, maybe 1 or 2 of them might be great works of art, but there's gonna be quite a distinct difference between the Shudder ones and the Criterion Channel ones. Maybe, sort of. I don't know. I guess it's a matter of subjective taste. But okay, now I've gone on for almost 11 minutes, so enough chatter. Okay, so the first one is Chopping Mall. I had seen this film before at the Jacob Burns Halloween Marathon. I think, in fact, very recently, I think last year was when I saw it. And that when they do those, they show, like, I don't know, 5, 6 films, one right after the other. The week before Halloween on a Friday into the morning hours of the Saturday. So you like start at like 8, 9, 10 p.m., something like that, till 6, 7, 8 a.m. the morning Saturday the next day. So they showed Chopping Mall. They showed it, the guy that runs the program and works at the Burns, his name is Andrew Jupin, and he does a podcast called We Hate Movies. They don't really hate movies. It's just what they call it. There's some reason why they call it that. But anyways, he and his other pals that do We Hate Movies, and I guess they've gone on tours places around maybe America. Well, not maybe, but like I think they've gone to New York City and maybe some other places around the United States. But anyways, they do this commentary series, sort of like a Riff Tracks kind of a thing every year. So this year in past years, they chose what I Know What You Did Last Summer, Friday the 13th, Jason Takes Manhattan. I think another Halloween film they made fun of, Halloween 4, I think it was. There was another movie. I don't know. He's been doing it for like maybe 5 years now, this Halloween marathon. So this year they did Chopping Mall. And then, of course, it was shown on Joe Bob Briggs' show. So anyways, I don't think I've discussed Chopping Mall before. It's Joe Bob Briggs said, and you can notice this anyways, there's no really chopping in the film. So basically what it boils down to, the plot is these young people, the mall closes at a certain time, and they have, these metal doors that shut to lock people in, and these robots come out to do security during the night, and they basically terrorize these young people. I don't know if maybe they're teenagers or maybe like early 20-year-olds or something. And the special effects are kind of cheesy, and it's a bad movie, but it's sort of a fun bad movie. It's funny at the start. If you watch the beginning credits, it's pretty funny. But it has a lot of holes in it, like Two of the characters in the film, they're changing in a locker room, and where is this locker room located? There's some holes in this film that don't make a lot of sense, and just but it's I think it's a fairly fun and goofy movie. I think it's a fun movie that makes it interesting, even though it's bad. It's fun, so I give it 3 stars. The next film is Bloodsucking Freaks. This was made in the 70s, 1974 or 75, 76, something like that. It's basically about this guy, this bearded guy. I think he's from England, the character. He's dead. Joe Bob says some burglar killed him in his apartment in New York City. I think he was in New York City. And then the person that plays a small person, his assistant, was, I guess he died of liver damage in the 80s. And it just shows things like cannibalism and cutting up of a sort of cutting up a head, like drinking blood from a head and chopping off arms. And it's kind of, I mean, there's some pretty heavy amounts of gore, some cannibalism, but you can sort of see it suggested, and then that it's hard to convince. Well, maybe it's hard to convince an audience today because, you know, like if you cut off the arm of somebody in the film, it's a cutaway shot. You know, they do a close up and then they go back, and the person maybe is tucking their arm back, so you know that their real arm hasn't been cut off. So it's not really that terrifying in that sense. Kind of gross, maybe that's what I'd say. And it was kind of a lame movie, so I'm giving it 2 stars, and I don't know if there's much to talk about it. It's kind of it's a sadistic film, you know, like with, you know, the theater critic making fun of the guy for showing all these tortures and saying it's not art, that it's crap, and he's kidnapped. The theater critic has kidnapped and subjected to torture, and but I don't think it has really any redeeming kind of a value or anything, and I don't think it needs to be touted. So 2 stars. Okay, next one is a good film. It's called Maniac. This is the old version from late 70s, early 80s. Maybe it was 1980 when it came out. I have to apologize because usually when I do these reviews, I put the year, and I haven't done it, and I'm not going to do it for this particular video because it'll just take more time. So anyways, Maniac starred a man named Joe Spinell. He's passed away now. I think he passed away in the mid-'80s. And he was in a lot of famous movies like The Godfather. Somebody brought to my attention that he was in Rocky. And he was in Taxi Driver, I believe. And I think I know which one he was in Taxi Driver. When Travis Bickle is applying for his taxi job, he's the guy that interviews him. I think that's him. So anyways, he plays this kind of, you know, maniac, lunatic, and he's on the prowl in the streets of New York City, and he's killing women, and he's collecting their scalps, and he's putting these scalps on these mannequins he has in his apartment. And he's crazy. He falls in love with this woman, and she's not. She doesn't know who he really is. Very, very good performance. The remake that came out sometime in the 2000s with Elijah Wood playing the Maniac character was pathetic, in my opinion. I'm not really a big fan of Elijah Wood. I haven't seen everything he's done, and I think the only way to judge a film is by watching the film, because even if you don't like the other films the director has made or the actor has made, and you see the particular film, you might change your opinion, no matter if you've seen every other film that the director has made, you know. So But so like in the case with Elijah Wood, there was a movie he made called Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind that I thought he was pretty good in. I haven't seen the film Everything is Illuminated. Maybe he's good in that. So I'm open to the fact he might be good in a movie, but for the most part, I don't think he's that great an actor. The Lord of the Rings, he didn't really read the Lord of the Rings books, I don't think, to get into the role of Frodo. Not that I'm a Lord of the Rings nut, because I read the books when I was young, but I'm not really into that stuff anymore. The movies are entertaining, but I know I'm digressing, but like Sean Astin puts a lot more thought into his role. He's reading the books, he's really getting into the role, maybe gaining weight. I don't know, but anyways, Elijah Wood's performance in Maniac when he's trying to be a creepy guy, it just doesn't sell. It just seems like he's trying. You can see him forcing the fakeness out of him. Forcing a crazy person persona, and it's just not convincing because you can see him acting. It doesn't seem very natural to me. Joe Spinell, maybe physically he fits the part too. He doesn't look very photogenic, and maybe that's part of the reason why it works. I'm not sure, but anyways, that's a good Maniac. The original was really good. And also Tom Savini was in it. He makes a brief appearance as Disco Boy. That's what it says in the credits. He has something happen to him during the movie. But Tom Savini's a makeup guy. He does special effects makeup. So, but anyways, I give this film 3.5 stars. So I really enjoyed it. So that's a little above good, but not excellent. Okay, so next up we've got a movie I have seen before. I think it was the 80s when I originally saw it. It's called Heathers. It's sort of like it's a satire. It's set during the high school years, and it stars Winona Ryder as the main character, with Christian Slater as her boyfriend, and then it stars with Winona Ryder these 3 girls that she hangs around with, all named by the first name of Heather. And Winona Ryder, what's her character's name? I can't remember. Christian Slater, I don't remember. But they concoct these ideas to murder the Heathers, and a few other nefarious plot elements as well. So just the theatricality of it, and some of the lines, like I think one of the lines was I loved my gay son or something like that. I guess because at that time period homosexuality was considered more of a funny thing, and these days, like with kids that are that age, they're more accepting of various types of whatever your sexual orientation or your gender, your race, ethnicity, it's not as clear cut as it was back in the 80s, whereas there were more of these groups. I think it was a different time period. But anyways, it's got the theatricality to it, like one of the funerals, or maybe it's a dream or a daydream, I don't know. They're in the church and they're wearing 3D glasses, So, but anyways, that's a pretty entertaining movie. And I would say I give that 3.5 stars. Next up, we have a film called Brain Damage. Brain Damage was directed by, I think the guy's name is Frank Hedenlader. He directed Basket Case, and he directed Frankenhooker. Frankenhooker I haven't seen, but Basket Case I have. Basket Case is pretty funny. I might have reviewed that on my channel. I can't remember. Basket Case, I think I saw that in the context of Joe Bob's show. I think that's how I saw it. but I honestly can't remember. And Brain Damage, I wouldn't say it's as good as Basket Case. I don't think it matches up to that. And I think it's entertaining, but not overly entertaining. It's decent. It just barely makes it as a good film. There's this creature that escapes this elderly couple's apartment and winds up at this young man's apartment, and basically has him do these murders. And in exchange, he has to take this kind of liquid from this thing that's inhabiting the back of his spine or back or neck or whatever, and so it's a little weird, and that for that reason, and why I couldn't clarify the weirdness of it. I mean, I couldn't swallow the whole premise of it. So for that reason, I'm just going to give it 3 stars. So it's amusingly good, but it's not quite, not just not great, just barely good. So enough about that. And the last one I saw on Joe Bob Briggs' last drive-in, and then we'll get to the Criterion Channel, is Deep Red, directed by Dario Argento. It's a giallo starring David Hemmings. David Hemmings was in a really good movie by Michelangelo Antonioni, which I highly recommend, which is Blow Up. And the Criterion the Criterion collection disc of Blow Up is fantastic. Criterion's do very good editions, I think, of various films. But if you want to buy a really good Criterion with lots of good special features, this is one of them that really is a plus to have. Not just filmmaking wise, knowing about how they made the film, but about swinging London at the time, and the art scene at the time in the 60s, and just really in depth. And I think it comes with does it come with a big book? I can't remember, but that I think maybe it comes with a thick book. I do have it. I don't have it available to me right at the moment. It's somewhere in my apartment, but I'm digressing. Deep Red, David Hemmings' character witnesses a murder, and he has to go about and find this murder. Giallo in Italian means yellow. I don't think I'm as qualified to talk about giallos as other people, and let me tout somebody else up here. A person that streams, I wouldn't say he does it every single day, but he does it at least a few days of the week, or maybe a little more than a few days of the week. His name's Pynn. Pynn. And he's big. He's a big fan of giallo films. But anyways, Deep Red. David Hemmings' character, who's he's an English person, person from the UK. So, anyways, he witnesses a murder, and then what he does is, for a living, he's a pianist. He's a musician, and he's trying to break down, where the murderer, trying to find where the murderer is and his motives, I guess, and all that stuff. And he arrives on different crime scenes, of people being murdered. And I don't know if I'm doing enough justice to this movie talking about it. Maybe I'm not talking about it very articulate wise, but I'm trying my best. Joe Bob Briggs was saying about the film, which I mentioned to Aaron, that there seems to be all these things that you see in the movie that just don't apply themselves to the plot, but maybe it's an Italian kind of a thing. a cultural kind of a thing. A thing I didn't like about the movie was just the music was a little annoying in some areas because it would continue and then it wouldn't go into any variations. And then it would start changing and it would get fast and real complex, and I like that. But then it just abruptly ended, the music. It wasn't smooth. It didn't end smoothly. So that's I'm a little critical of that. But it was entertaining. The way people died in the film was very creative, I thought. So I'm going to give this 3.5 stars. And there's 2 different endings for this film, or maybe there's more. There's several different ways this film has been cut. I don't know if it's literally 50 ways, but it's a lot. And I like one particular way it ends more than the other. One way it ends is really not satisfying to me, and the other way that it ends is much more satisfying and much more, works much better for the movie, in my opinion. So, okay, so that's that. So now we get to the Criterion channel. I think the one I have number 7 is the one I watched second. I'm going to start with the one I watched first, which I think was the first one I watched recently. I love Fassbinder movies. I love how depressing they are. This film's no exception to that rule. Martha, which I can't remember how her name is spelled or said or anything. Margaret Cartherson, or I don't know her name, but she played Petra von Kant in one of my favorite films of all time, Beware, The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant. So she plays this character named Martha. And it's a very depressing film, as are most of Fassbinder films, of course. She basically just loses lots of her independence and lots of people that she could have. She loses her job. She loses people that might have been of more interest to her romantically, and I think it was a little heavy-handed, a little bit like the sunburn scene in the film when her new husband and herself go on a honeymoon, and she tans herself and she burns her skin. I thought that was a little melodramatic. I also, maybe I didn't quite understand why her husband, when he sees that the record she's been playing is Lucia de Lammermoor by Donizetti, which is a classical opera, why he wouldn't approve of that. Because if they're like higher class characters, if they're characters that are more educated or richer or something, wouldn't it make sense that he would like Donizetti, instead of this other piece of music he puts on the record player? I don't know. But I don't know. It just didn't make quite enough sense. But I still love it. It's still just a great movie, and I just love how she not only is forced to live a certain way, but when she is offered the opportunities to maybe reverse some of those changes, she backs away and she becomes reticent, and she just accepts her fate. So, but anyways, so even though I've said these kinds of things about it, I'm going to give it 4.5 stars out of 5 because it's just a very entertaining, great, depressing movie. As you know, I like depressing movies. Next up, I have some Nagisa Oshima films in my collection. I think I've watched everything that I have in my collection of his except for Death by Hanging, which I've yet to watch. But anyways, they had this particular film of his that I don't own called Boy, which was based on these incidents in maybe it was early 60s. Came out in 1968 or 69, the film itself. this family was basically what they were doing is they were like they'd have their son pretend to be hit by a car, and then they collect the money from the driver who thought they hit their son. So they'd be making lots of money, conning people, and going from city to city in Japan and collecting money, living on the riches. And but of course, in any particular scenario such as that, especially with a country that has laud, first world country, I guess you could call it, like our country or European countries or some countries in Asia, where you have a police, you have a judicial branch, where things can be accounted for and your actions can be punished. The law will catch up to you, and I won't tell you how it how it resolves itself, but it's worth a watch. And he's a good director, anyways. And of course, I love Japanese cinema, as you probably know. So that's a 4-star rating for me. That's an excellent film. And the last director I'm going to get to is a female director from Belgium. I don't think she's French. She's how would you say? She's from Belgiumist. I don't know how to say it. I don't know. Belgium. I don't know. But anyway, she directed a number of films that are on the Criterion Channel. I watched also special features too, which I love about the Criterion Channel because, like other channels, other streaming platforms, you may get the movie, but like if you don't have the disc, you won't have all the special features. And with the Criterion Channel, not all of the films on their platform will have special features, but some will. They also have films not in the collection on their channel, and other stuff, stuff about art house theaters around America. Special sections devoted to various topics like women directors, African American directors, films and interviews with filmmakers analyzing various films and filmmakers, and there's a Scorsese part of him curating movies, and they have a section for kids. I think it's called what's it called? Saturday Matinee, I think, which is. It's not really a kids-oriented platform, though. I don't think you really have to get something more like Netflix or that, I think. But I'm digressing. So, anyways, this filmmaker, her name is Chantal Akerman, but before I get into the various movies she made before her masterpiece, before I get into the other films besides her masterpiece, I watched some films that or material that you would get with the disc. That if you bought the actual disc itself, it would come with like an interview with Chantal Akerman, one with the cinematographer, short films that Chantal Akerman made before she made this particular movie. So the particular movie that she made that is regarded as this great masterpiece, and I'm not going to say the whole name of the film. I don't know if I'll put it, maybe I'll put it on the video, over here on the screen here, because it's a really, really long title and I can't remember it. And I think what the title of the film is, her name, and then where she lives. I think that's what it means. So, but anyways, the abbreviated title that I'm going to give you is Jeanne Dielman, which is the character's name. And she's played by a French actress named Delphine Seyrig. I don't think she's from Belgium. I think she's French, because I think she was in another film from Belgium that's about vampires that Joe Bob Briggs showed on his show. Now, Delphine Seyrig, you might remember if you know about her. She was in a French movie called Last Year at Marienbad, directed by Alain Resnais. in what year is that? The 50s, I think, or was it the 60s? He was the early 60s, late 50s. But it's a very artsy film. It's like poetic. And there's not really a plot in that film last year, Mary Bad. It's just like a repeated poetic speech and just camera craning down this fancy hotel and mirrors and people walking a certain way in a very well cut shrubbery garden in the back of the hotel. And so she's in that, and then she was in another film, I think after John Dielman, or it was before. You know what? I think it's before, because I think John Dielman came out in like 76 maybe. She was in Buñuel's Discreet Charm of the Bourgeoisie. She played the wife of I don't know who the husband character was, but she was one of the people that came, was part of the group that sat down to eat a meal and would get constantly interrupted by for various reasons. But anyway, so that's her. So she's in this movie, and she plays well, we don't know entirely what she is entirely. It just slowly gets revealed to us. And this film is long. It's about 3 hours and 21 minutes. And, I think it's a cinematographer in the special features. She said that when they went to see the film, a bunch of people walked out of the film when it premiered, because basically, I guess they saw it as boring. And then it got a lot of notice. I think it was at Cannes that got the notice. And then it went all over the world at all these film festivals and regarded as a masterpiece. Basically, it just shows the routine of what she does. It shows her cooking, shows her eating dinner with her son, shows her opening a futon for her son, shows her preparing food. There's a little stuff of her outside the apartment, shows her waiting for the elevator. Because things in reality, when you see a movie, we cut to scenes. We don't like if a person's going to make meatloaf, we don't like well, the usual conventions that would be used would be she'd say in a regular movie, and in another type of movie, she would say, "I'm going to make some meatloaf." So we cut to her in the kitchen. She'd start pressing some meatloaf together, and then she'd maybe cut or dissolve to her finishing the meatloaf, putting it in the oven, and then maybe a picture of a clock and a dissolve from like a second hand to, or one of the hands of the clock going from 30 from like a 6 to a 12, so you know that it's the meatloaf's ready. But in this particular film, she shows like long sections of things like the meatloaf being prepared, and it's a really long take. So it's like maybe it's 7 minutes of just watching her make meatloaf, And these routines keep her sane, basically, is her character, Jeanne Dielman, or however you pronounce French. I could pronounce her French. I'm mangling the French, I believe. But anyways, so she's involved in these routines, these strict routines. And you find out she's a widow, and you don't know exactly how she makes a living and how she acquires money. And then there's little hints of it as the film progresses. And and then it meets up to a climax, and you see her in a few scenes where she's not doing anything, and things start to unravel a little bit, and then the house of cards falls, so and it's, I think it's a masterpiece, but you have to have a lot of patience to watch it, and I'm going to give it 4 stars. I guess I wouldn't give it 4.5, or well, 5 would be like a favorite film, but 4.5 I'd give it if I wasn't totally. I mean, I sort of kept my patience. I sort of, stuck through it, but it was a little tiresome, a little bit tiresome. So 4 stars, and then I'll try to get try to get through quickly through these other movies because I've been going on for quite some time now. So she shot this other movie called La Chambre, the room or whatever. It's just basically she and her cinematographer panning her camera or their camera or whatever around their apartment for like 5 times or something. It's like 11 minutes, 2.5 stars. Hotel Monterey. It's a silent film. It's probably shot on Super 8 or 16 millimeter. It's just shots of like the elevator door closing, going up and down the hallways. Very boring. 2 stars. A film called J2L, something like I, you, his, her, something like that. 2.5 stars. Just about, she's moving this mattress around in this room. She disrobes and takes her clothes off. She spends this time with a truck driver, has a beer with him at a bar. It doesn't really amount to much, in my opinion. News from Home. These 2 last films I'm going to talk about are sort of mere reflections of the other one. News from Home. You see footage of New York City, like shots from the sidewalk, shots in the subway, from the trains, from the subway platforms. And while you're watching these shots, like anybody could, I don't know if anybody, maybe it's devaluing the art of it or something, but, I could go down, put my camera in the subway, shoot some footage, get on the subway platform, shoot some footage, go to a street in New York City, shoot some footage on the street, go to another street, shoot some more footage. 2.5 stars. And it's this character reading her mother's letters. You never see the person talking. You never see the person that's being referred to. They're just talking about, are you okay? Do you have a job? We miss you. Your cousin might visit you sometime, but she doesn't have enough money right now. Did you get the money I sent you? It got boring very quickly. And then last one, I know this video's gone on way long because I've been seeing a lot of films, and I felt for this particular video I want to be completist with the Chantal Akerman works, and instead of breaking it up into separate videos. So last one is called Le Rendezvous d'Anna, the Rendezvous of Anna. 3.5 stars. This is about a woman. I would say she's in her early 30s, maybe, and she takes, well, she hangs out with this guy. They're about to have sex, and she doesn't feel like she wants to have it, and slowly unravels as to like why she acts like she acts during the movie, what her motives are. She meets this guy's daughter, and I guess it's the maid the next day, and the maid and the daughter really like her, but she doesn't want to continue, even though the husband is trying to be not the husband, he's a widow. No, is it a widow? No, his wife has been separated, and I guess doesn't want anything to do with them. So anyways, but she walks on that, and then she meets one of her mother's friends, and her mother's friend has a son that had proposed to her, and she walked out on mirrors twice with this guy, and then she meets a guy on the train, and he's like, I think he's making romantic moves on her, not by physically, but by talking to her, and she just doesn't connect. And let's see, how does it end? Yeah, it's a pretty good film, not bad, you know. I guess Chantal Akerman likes to make these kind of ruminations, observations with the camera, like just show like 3 minutes of just the camera going past the landscape. She likes that kind of stuff, I guess. That's her thing. So, to round it up, to round this video up, I would say that if you're going to watch Chantal Akerman, maybe watch John Dielman. I think that's worth watching. The other films you could miss. But if I was to describe her, and this is probably not a good way to describe anybody because people are what they are and they're not really this or that compared to, that, me calling her a Tarkovsky and Ozu filmmaker, because what she does basically is Tarkovsky shoots these really long shots, really long takes where he doesn't go to a cut for like 5 minutes or whatever. And Ozu, he doesn't move his camera. He goes close up, back and forth, but he doesn't move the camera. And sometimes he shoots the camera from far away. So that's who she reminded me of. Sort of a combination of Tarkovsky and Ozu. So, anyways, I've been going on long enough. As you see, 50 minutes now. I don't think the next video is going to be as long as this. So, anyways, all right. So maybe I'll put a disclaimer on the front. Feel free to fast forward through the video if at any time you're bored, because maybe I'm boring you. I have no idea. But anyways, that does it. And I'll try to get this video up within the next few days. Okay. Thanks for watching. And any comments are welcome. See you in the near future. Bye for now.